Thank you for joining the August 22nd, 2019 VOLTHA call. Just a reminder to everyone that we do record these meetings. They are public and we post them to YouTube afterwards. So please keep that in mind during today's discussion and also if you are sharing any presentation material. With that, we will go ahead and get started. Our first topic today is reviewing the proposal that was put forth from Girish on multiple T-CONts and how to support that. And then Mahir, I believe you and the NetSia team have reviewed that and may have some comments to provide as well. And
yes,
then,
correct.
excellent. And then we were attempting to do a demo today on the Redfish importer, but they weren't able to resolve the VPN issue with the lab, so we have to postpone the demo. We're going to tentatively schedule it for next Thursday. And then, so this topic is off for today. So if we do have anything else people need to bring up for discussion, we can spend a little time on another topic. But let me go over now to our first item. That's the multiple T-CONT discussion. Girish, did you want to share anything from your screen? Or do you want me to just open up the email discussion from VOLTHA Discuss?
Yeah, I can give a brief overview of the multi-T-CONT approach. I will not show the original PDF that I sent because it has a lot of low-level details and may not interest everybody. So I tried to capture in a few slides high-level approach and then probably open for discussion or any questions.
Great, thank you. And then I've given you presentation rights. Let me check. Mahir, do you have anything on your side that you wanted to share presentation-wise or just the verbal comments afterward?
No, I don't have anything to share, so I'll only give comments as verbal.
Great, okay, thank you. And Girish, when you're ready, you can go ahead and begin presenting.
Yeah, sure, I can present now. Just let me know when you guys can see my screen.
I can see the slides now.
Okay, sure. So I will briefly discuss the high-level details about the multi-T-CONT approach in the VOLTHA subsystem. I had shared another PDF on the VOLTHA Discuss, which captures a lot of low-level details, but it may not interest everybody, or not everyone may be able to appreciate the low-level details. So I just tried to capture some high-level approach here. Please do ask any questions you have. We can discuss that. Okay. So the problem statement is the current tech profile implementation does not support more than one T-CONT per ONU. So we would need multiple T-CONT for various use cases. So I tried to capture a couple of use cases here, but I'm sure there are a lot of other use cases too. For example, when we need to have one subscriber per uni and each subscriber has a unique T-CONT on the ONU, or another use case is one service per uni and each service has a unique T-CONT. So these are one of the like couple of use cases that I could easily recall and document here, but definitely there are more use cases. So there are two possible approaches to solve this problem. So one is modify the existing technology profile to support multiple T-CONTs. So if you actually see the current technology profile, you would just see one upstream scheduler and one downstream scheduler. So the upstream scheduler corresponds to the DBA scheduler corresponding to the T-CONT, and the downstream scheduler corresponds to the subterm scheduler that schedules all the traffic in the downstream for that particular ONU. So in its existing form, it can only support one T-CONT. So you either you could modify this technology profile structure to support multiple T-CONTs. Or another approach is have the existing, do not modify the structure of the technology profile, but use multiple technology profiles for a single ONU uni as needed. So these are the two possible approaches. So let's analyze briefly each of these approaches and see if there are any problem. So the first approach. So each, as I mentioned, each technology profile in its current form has a set of upstream and downstream scheduler. And the upstream scheduler maps to the DBA scheduler of the T-CONT. And we define a new technology format to support as many upstream and downstream schedulers as needed. But the inherent problem with this approach is the OpenFlow message carries the technology profile ID. Now, ultimately, this OpenFlow message has to be, translated. Say, for example, if you are using the ASFE VOLTHA 16. So ultimately, this OpenFlow message has to translate to a BAL flow. I'm taking the example of ASFE VOLTHA 16 platform here. I'm sure other platforms have similar low-level mapping to this OpenFlow message. So on the BAL, how do we, because this technology profile has multiple upstream schedulers, so how do we say to which T-CONT this particular OpenFlow message has to map to? So it's not very obvious with this approach. So approach one has this particular problem. Any questions so far? Okay. So the approach two would be that the existing technology profile structure would not change, but then the OpenFlow message carries. So if you want to, assuming that you're supporting multiple uniports, and the OpenFlow message carries the uniport. So per uniport, you could define a unique technology profile ID. So this way, each TPID uniquely maps to a particular T-CONT, and there is no ambiguity here. And this solves the problem that we saw in approach one. And in my opinion, as per my analysis, I don't see any other problems in approach two. But yeah, definitely, approach two comes with its own impacts and implementation changes in the VOLTHA subsystem. But yeah, but there are no major problems that I see with approach two.
Back to approach one, how many flows? If you change, okay, among approach one, approach two, the number of flows stays the same, right? For example, I want to have 4 T-CONts. So approach two then has, sorry, I just woke up. So whether change the technology profile to have multiple T-CONT support, or the technology profile stays the same, and potentially 2 of T-CONT using the same technology profile, right?
Yeah, so the number of flows don't change with approach one or approach two. It is how we use the technology profile or a set of technology profiles to reference different T-CONTs. So that's the only thing. But in terms of the number of flows, they don't really change.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Björn here? If I have 2 users on the same ONU, which have both exactly the same settings in terms of upstream and downstream bandwidth, so they can have an identical traffic profile, but it has to have a different ID. Is that correct?
Yes. So if they have to be referenced, if you have those 2 subscribers on the same uni, they need to have a different, and these 2 subscribers have to have different T-CONTs. They need to have a different technology profile ID, even though their characteristics are the same. I think this is particularly of implication to TT, where you have on a single uni, you connect a DPU, and the DPU has up to 16 subscribers. So each of these 16 subscribers, even though they have the same characteristics in terms of T-CONT, there has to be 16 unique T-CONTs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got it.
But these go
ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Girish. I think you were explaining something.
Yeah, but these technology profiles have to be unique on the UNI, because that is the way you can differentiate or uniquely map the OpenFlow message to a device flow. You can uniquely reference a particular T-CONT. But if it's a different UNI port, it's not a problem, because the UNI port isolates the technology profile IDs. But on a given UNI port, the technology profile IDs have to be unique.
Okay, but if these are different UNI ports, then I can take, then I'm free to choose the same. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
But to make it more complicated, if Turk Telecom decided to also use DPU, and they have exactly the same way like AT&T, no, I mean on the physical box, right? Exactly the same way as other service providers. But for each individual port on the DPU, they also want to have multiple T-CONT. Would that be possible? For example, right, for Deutsche Telekom and AT&T, there will be 16 physical DPU port. And then in our case, probably 16 T-CONT per DPU. And our application is per port basis. But if the requirement the Turk Telecom said, but each subscriber and each service has to have a different T-CONT, and so potentially one physical port on the DPU will have multiple services. Then
yeah, so that's perfectly fine. So each of these different services themselves will have a different OpenFlow message, right?
Right.
So each of those service flows themselves should have a unique T-CONT.
Okay.
Because they have different technology profile IDs, or?
Yeah.
If they have the same, is there a case that they have the same technology profile IDs?
Right now, I don't know. I haven't seen that use case currently in the workflows that are available in the community, because I think it's, especially if you take the AT&T use case, it is one T-CONT 4-gem model, and all your EAPOL, DHCP, HSIA, everything mapped to the same T-CONT. In the community, I don't think there is a use case where you have a HSIA or a VoIP or PGO service that use different T-CONTs. So if
Türk Telekom workflow, Girish, Türk Telekom workflow, we provided the Türk Telekom workflow to the community, and Türk Telekom workflow defines this kind of service approach. I mean, each service has a different T-CONT.
Yeah, exactly. So, in this use case, each of your OpenFlow message that corresponds to set up those particular services have to reference a different TPID.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I don't think this is open source yet, right?
Yes, now we are providing it to the community. I mean, under the multicast brigade.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I think before start we implement to the multi T-CONT for the VOLTHA 2.0. I mean, we have to think about it. I mean, we have to design in the same way. Otherwise, we will work on different piece of codes, and it will clash in somewhere. Otherwise, we will have to separate private repos for this feature.
I think as soon as this approach is agreed upon in the community, I think we can immediately start on the implementation.
Girish, one question. So, so when you say the open flow message for a subscriber carries the TP ID, so like in a multi-service case where we want a separate T-CONT, so are we going to send another flow add with the same uni and different metadata with a different TP ID? Is that understanding correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I'm not sure. Is that a legal open flow procedure where we are adding multiple flows with the same between same logical ports, but just a different metadata, right? Everything else is going to be same in add flow.
No, you probably have different match fields for different services.
Oh, okay. So the match fields, yeah, you're right. Okay, got it. Thanks.
But even if the match fields are the same, metadata is different. That's legal.
That's legal. Okay, perfect. Thanks. That answers my question. Thanks.
Yeah.
Girish,
yes.
Yes, I have a comment about this also. I mean, I think you know that we implemented this multi-T-CONT in multicast brigade because Türk Telekom gives the multicast service in a separate T-CONT. So we came up with a design in multicast brigade and implemented it on 1.7. And our intent is to carry this to 2.0 at the beginning of the September. So this is a good chance for us to have a wider consensus with the community. Our comments are basically the difference between our implementation and this proposal. So in our implementation, we used CVLAN IDs for uniquely identify the T-CONTs IDs and save this technology profile PET IDs. So, I mean, it may be an alternative for instead of TP ID using the CVLAN ID, but I mean, it's a discussion point only. If we discuss on this TP ID, it's also okay for us, and we can go and implement with that.
Yeah, nothing is written on concrete as of today. I mean, we can, if you can present the approach you have chosen, I think we can have a consensus and then see which suits best.
Of course. Yeah, you're right. So, I'm trying to say that I mean we can use CVLAN IDs also to identify the technology profile IDs, and each time the service created, we can create a T-CONT and use CVLAN IDs to save this technology profile IDs in KV store.
I fully didn't understand the approach. If you can, briefly talk, if possible, in the next DSD, that will help me.
Of course. I mean, this is a bit technical, and about the document you post to the discuss. I mean, there was a technology profile PET ID, which which you use technology profile IDs to save the technology profile IDs also in case visitor. So I'm talking about this, and I'm trying to say that we can use CVLAN IDs instead of technology profile IDs to identify. I mean, to save the technology profiles IDs in KV store. So the PET can be generated by CVLAN IDs also.
Okay. I think I got your point. Okay, so the chosen approach is I think that approach 2 is better because we have some obvious problems with approach 1, and the code changes are the approach 2 doesn't have much impact in terms of the low-level code changes that are required. it will need some reorganization in the way the TP data is generated, stored, and retrieved on a per pawn ONU uni basis on the KV store. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say about this. And the impacted components in the VOLTHA subsystem are the OpenVolt adapter, the OpenVolt agent, resource manager module, and tech profile module. The exact implications, the impacts that I see as of today are documented in the approach that I shared. But it goes without saying that I didn't really evaluate the impacts in the ONOS applications. We definitely need, we probably need some changes in the OLT app and the SARIS app to support multiple TPs per subscriber. And probably the SEBA, the NEM layer in SEBA also might need some updates to existing workflows to support multiple technology profiles for various operators. So yeah, that's all. Any questions? And Mahir, if you want to probably discuss the way you have done, I mean, we could discuss and probably have a common approach. I think I'm okay to discuss anytime tomorrow or probably next week, or probably with the wider audience as well in the TST call.
Okay, I mean, we were fine with the approach, but we only have a few differentiation points, and they are much more technical. So I have 2 or 3 comments on your technical document you posted to the VOLTHA discuss. So I can give these comments to you now or to the community now, or as you said, we can discuss it separately. But one was saving the technology profile IDs in KV store, which one is I explained a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And so there are two small comments from me also. So one is the using the ONOS APIs. We do not use
Mahir, hello. Sorry, Mahir, just to interrupt. Regarding the point that you brought up, right, that instead of using the TP IDs, use the C tag, right? So yes. What would be the case where we have the same C tag, but we want to use different TP IDs, as in different T-CONs? So, as in we do have a case. We do have a case where we have the same inner tag, but we want to use different TP IDs. Basically, the outer tag is going to be different.
Okay, I mean, if there are such kind of use cases, I mean, we can change it to the technology profile ID, as I said in the beginning of my comment. Okay. So if there are such use cases that we can use different C tags for but in a T-CONT, then okay, we can change it to technology profile ID also.
Yeah. Okay. Let's evaluate that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
If no questions, then I will stop my presentation.
Garish, I have a question. In case you have multiple subscribers on the same UNI, right? And let's suppose you have different accounts for each one. How we are going to make the differentiation between such subscribers on SADIs? As far as I know, the entrance SADIs will have the serial number followed by UNI port, right? How we are going to track or make the differentiation between the subscribers' IDs on the SADIs, because each one will have a different technology profile. Can have a different technology profile, right?
Exactly. So how we plan to, I mean, I can speak for DT. I'm not sure about others. So ONOS exposes an API to provision the S tag and C tag for a subscriber. So we don't really use the SADIS. We use the API directly to provision the S tag, C tag on a given uni. So on a given uni, you could have multiple subscribers. You just specify unique S tag and C tag during each API call, and that provisions flows for different subscribers. Now this API will also change to include the TP ID as well. So we don't really use the SADIS, but directly invoke the REST API on the OLT app to provision different subscribers on a given uni. But your question, we still need to analyze how, if some other customer is using the SADIS app, we need to see how the SADIS app needs to change for this particular use case you mentioned.
So, but Girish, you will have different subscribers on same uni that will use different T-CONs with different technology profile IDs.
Yes.
If you want to define same subscribers on same uni, sorry, different subscribers on same uni using the same T-CONT, then you have to give also the same technology profile IDs to them. Correct or not? Because the technology profile defines the T-CONT, so you have to give, if there are different subscribers, you will give same technology profile ID to them to use the same T-CONT ID. But if you want to separate the T-CONT IDs, then you have to give the separate technology profile IDs.
Yes, you're right.
So separate technology profile IDs for different separate users. Is that a good approach? I don't know.
So if the subscriber uses a single T-CONT and you have multiple subscribers on the same uni port, each of those subscribers will need to use a different TP ID.
Yes. So in this approach, we have to define different technology profile IDs for different subscribers.
Yes.
This doesn't look so good so far to me, but okay.
I just sorry, there was another person who asked a question. I didn't get who that was. So I had a question about the SADIS app, about the net config. Okay, anyway, so all I was trying to say is the OLT app exposes this RESTful API to provision different subscribers. So all you need to do is specify the TP ID. So the subscriber ID identifies the uniport name. All you need to do is to specify a different S tag and C tag, and also the TP ID for different subscribers on that particular uniport. But this approach is using the REST API and the OLT app. But if this needs to be done via the net config, then we need to work out the different possible approaches on how do we provision multiple subscribers on the same uniport.
Garish, so we must use different technology profile IDs if you are on the same UNI?
If you need different subscribers who need different T-CONT, yes, you need to use different TP IDs.
But it's not a must. We can use the same technology profile, right?
Yes, but then all the subscribers would share the same T-CONT. Is that what you need?
No, let's suppose that we have a case, I don't know if it's the case of Deutsche Telekom, that you are going to transport voice. right, using the same technology profile means that you are going to use the same T-CONT.
Yes, all the subscribers would use the same T-CONT. So everything is tunneled via PPPoE.
All right. This is acceptable also for multicast?
I think probably Bjorn can comment more, but even multicast, VoIP, HSI, everything is tunneled through PPPoE and through a single T-CONT.
Exactly. So at that point in the network, we don't have any multicast.
Okay.
So with short words, we are just creating a kind of a data pipe with a single T-CONT for the single customer, and within these data pipe, we are transferring all the services together.
All right.
Any other discussion? Okay, Girish, if you want, I can take presentation rights back if there are no other questions.
Sure, but you can always drop me a mail on VOLTHA Discuss and I can respond.
Okay.
Thanks.
Girish, for the final, to give it a final, to finalize this document, should we talk separately in a meeting or should we talk on VOLTHA Discuss?
We can discuss on a separate meeting. You can maybe tomorrow or Monday, any days. I'll drop you a separate mail right after this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so Girish and Mahir, what I'll ask you to do then is, if you have a agreement, compromise that you work out to resolve the differences between your two to get some common approach, if you could send a note to VOLTHA Discuss with the outcome of your discussion, so that then we can collect any further comments, then I think that could be our next steps. Is that acceptable?
Yes, of course.
And also in those discussions, if you could understand an approach to continue to use the status approach for those use cases that require it in conjunction with the proposal, that would be good as well. Just so the question's answered before it's technically asked, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll watch for that on VOLTHA Discuss and then continue discussion there for next steps. Okay, so we do have some time back today because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we're going to postpone the Redfish Importer demo. There's still some lab VPN issues, so we need to get those resolved before we can schedule that demo. So that has been moved. We'll be looking at next Thursday if they can get the issues resolved. So then a reminder to everyone, we have Sprint 5 is targeted to complete tomorrow, Friday at the end of day. And so we can maybe do a little bit of some preliminary sprint planning on this call. What I have done at this point is I've created a placeholder so that if there are topics you are working on that you were planning to take on for the next 3 weeks, then you can pull those over into kind of pre-planning for Sprint 6 before we officially kick that off on Monday. Let me see. I'm not sure if Gilles joined the bridge. I don't think he did. While we've got folks on the call, I did want to I'd seen something I wanted to check with the group on 1864, one of the new JIRAs that came in. Usually we discuss new ones on the following Tuesday, but I did see that this was blocking the work for the test cases that Gilles will be working on. So I wanted to see if there's anyone that could take a look at 1864 so that we could unblock that work.
And Joe said one thing he mentioned, maybe some the ONF need to be helping to resolve this one.
Okay.
But I don't understand why. Is that because it's a framework question? But even if that's framework, if the community can do it, do we? So maybe I ask him what exactly.
Okay.
So
I
David,
see you back on the bridge. Oh, go ahead.
David Benbridge, do you? I'm wondering whether do you have any idea why this one is blocking?
Why it's the one currently on the screen?
Yeah.
Why it's blocking? What do you mean? It's not blocking.
I think it's blocking
blocking the start of his work on the test cases for 2.x.
So I'm trying to understand the ask here.
Blocking the 2.x test automation.
Yeah, so the ask here is that the Kind VOLTHA deploy a Docker registry that can be pushed and pulled to with locally built images. Is that what the ask is? I mean, I don't think we're going to end up having a private repo that has things, because we'd end up, it would just be a duplicate of what we already have publicly published on the branches.
I think the issue is, well, yeah, if it's just using public Docker images, it's not an issue. So the ask is, how do I get private Docker images into a Kind Kubernetes cluster? And there is a way to do that today without going to a private registry. So let me contact them and well, they know this, right? You can use the Kind load image to get these in. So I'm not sure why this would be considered blocking, as there is a workaround.
For testing, shouldn't we using like release images?
Well, I'm assuming they want to run this on images built from a patch set, for instance, before they're released.
Okay.
But again, I think there are ways to do that without either pushing and pulling to a public repo or having a private repo. You could do that. There's a Kind load image capability. What's the number on this one? I'll at least add that.
1864.
I'll add a comment to it.
Okay.
And see where that goes.
No, I have a question. The Kind VOLTHA is only the recent 2.0 implement, I would say, add-on, right? The 1.x.
Kind VOLTHA is merely a mechanism to build the Docker and Docker Kubernetes cluster, essentially a quick way to bring up a Kubernetes cluster.
Right.
That's all Kind is. And that's what this issue is pertaining to, is that Kind bit.
But well, my question, do we need, if they didn't use the Kind in the 1.x framework, do we need to use Kind in 2.x framework for automation testing?
No one needs to use Kind. It is a mechanism to get up a cluster quickly. That's all it is.
In the 1.x world, we only ever really needed to run a single instance of Kubernetes, right? Because we didn't really have the redundancy. In the new world, we need a cluster. We need 3. So now something like Kind comes along that'll let you easily run 3. The only other options to running 3 is to actually build out whatever full-size cluster process you like to use, kube spray route. So, and again, that's time-consuming, and it takes some effort to get that done right. Kind makes that easy. It's just you have to now consider image management a little bit differently.
And from this perspective, if you've got a set of images that you want to use for testing, you can actually bundle them up in one file and load them in one file into the Kind environment and use that. And that would work. So I'm not exactly sure what the issue is.
But the bundle everything into one file is that, you know, whenever there's a patch or whatever, there's a fix on the VOLTHA side, they had to download bundle, right?
I'm not quite sure. So basically it says, look, if you have a set of custom images you want to run with, all you would have to do is essentially load those images into the Kind environment and pull the images that aren't custom from the standard repos. And that works. The other alternative, as a text in this thing talks about, is you could always put them up on Docker Hub under a unique name, if you will, or unique tag, and use Docker Hub just the same. So I'll reread this. I don't know why this is blocking, as there's multiple workarounds. It may be nice to think about having a private repo, but I don't think it's a requirement to go to the next step.
Okay. And Zach, I think Kailash also talked to Jules about this. Yeah, let's have a small discussion on this one so we can move this forward.
It would be interesting to know what we intend to do QA-wise for spinning up clusters and doing automated testing there. I think we were going to discuss that at the stabilization meeting, but we didn't get to it earlier this week.
Maybe it makes sense, rather than having for QA purposes a cluster that's built up from scratch every single time, just rather have a cluster that's already there and installed, running the prerequisites of Kafka and etcd operator, and then the Jenkins process, all it do is helm delete purge the last set of VOLTHA images, and then helm install the new set of VOLTHA images without having to build up the whole cluster again. Does that make things any easier, I guess, from an automation Jenkins point of view?
Yeah, right now, almost all of our testing is on EC2 nodes that are torn up and brought up and torn down on an as-needed job basis. So having long-running stuff means we have to have a server somewhere, or a long-running EC2 node that is with a non-trivial amount of resources, which is somewhat expensive. But I realize there's a trade-off.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, I mean, it's an option, just if for other reason. But yeah, I think the challenge with Kind is the mechanism to create and push those images exists. It's just for maybe the dozen or so images, it can be time consuming. So it might just be that this job might have to be expected to take a while to finish.
Yeah, I guess the issue is, the images are going to be downloaded from whatever the source is into the Kind environment each run. So the long poll, if you will, I think is going to be the time it takes to download the image into the environment, whether that's a local repo, public repo, or the Kind load image function, right? The same amount of bits have to be moved. That's the issue in terms of the time. In terms of starting, stopping, yeah, I mean, it can be done. And I do it locally, right? I don't bring down the Kind cluster every time I want to run a new test. I bring it down VOLTHA and bring that up, and yeah, it's much quicker than trying to bring up a cluster every time.
So this item we'll continue to discuss at a stabilization brigade on next Wednesday.
Sure, I can put it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to jump over to this for a little time today. So we'll have some discussions in the background. Dave is going to post a question or comment on in JIRA on 1864, and then there will be some follow-up discussion on the stabilization brigade next week. And then we'll be reviewing it as part of the new issues next Tuesday as well, with our usual routine. So I think let me circle back a little bit to the multiple T-CONT discussion. So this was one of our target scope items for 2.1. So Girish or Mahir, I'm wondering if from your teams, if you have an estimate, once we have an agreed path forward, so I'm expecting we could start the work on this, for target it for the next sprint, which starts on Monday. So that'd be sprint 6. Do you think this is something that will require multiple sprints to get this completed, or do you think it can be delivered within a single sprint once we have a path forward? Or is it too early to tell? Go ahead.
No, I have, based on the approach that I had shared, I think it will require just over a sprint. I think a sprint here is 3 weeks, so I think it'll need about 4 weeks.
Okay.
But that's my rough estimate, plus or minus.
Okay. Okay. So that'll give me a little bit of input then that I can put back on our planning slides for rough ideas about the required time to complete the items. So we'll go ahead.
Yeah, but
updates there. Yeah.
I just wanted to make a point. So as you saw in my last slide, I just talked about the VOLTHA subsystem, VOLTHA and below, but really haven't analyzed the implications in the ONOS apps to support multiple technology profiles, because that doesn't exist in the community as of today. So the work, the implementation note was to analyze the support that was required in VOLTHA and the agent to support multiple technology profiles. So my estimate was only for VOLTHA and the agent. Okay. So I think we need a separate exercise to see how the apps, the net config, and all is going to be impacted for multiple technology profiles. Okay. But the goal is with the multiple technology profile support coming in VOLTHA and the agent, any existing workflows should not be impacted. So that's my goal here to start with.
Okay.
Hope that clarifies.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Do we have any other topics that the group would like to discuss with the remaining time today? Okay, then I think roughly our plan for sprint 6, I believe we're still doing a lot of focus on defect resolution. So I think that will be one of the items we'll be looking at. We'll plan on kicking off the work officially for the multiple T-CONT development as well, and we'll have those side discussions between Mahir and Girish, and then have the outcome posted to both to discuss for community feedback as appropriate. And then we'll, again, if we have other in-flight items that people are working on, please feel free to pull those in yourself and assign them in to yourself or one of your team members in this pre-planned sprint 6. Okay, and David, I have a question also I wanted to just bring up with you. I'd seen that you'd posted some guidelines for how to move forward with, you give some details on the branching that's going forward for stabilization work, and then guidelines for what we need to follow for the community for patches going in terms of bugs get cherry picked over. Is that something you want to review with the group as well? We have the VOLTHA Discuss comments out there. Do you think we need to spend time on one of the VOLTHA calls just to set the guidelines verbally and get feedback from folks. Just
Wouldn't be a bad
question,
idea.
That's what I was thinking. Do you want to target maybe next week? Would that be an appropriate time?
That would be fine.
Okay, then we'll try and get that on the schedule. Do you have any preference on Tuesday versus Thursday, or whatever works best?
Whatever works best should be fine.
Okay, I think we'll probably have time on Tuesday, so I'll pencil it in. And then again, you have the material out there that's very thorough, so we can use that. It may kind of naturally fall into the review of the new JIRA, since you did open a lot of related items there as well that feed back to those discussions. So I think we'll do that hopefully Tuesday. Okay.
Right.
Any other comments from the group or topics that would you like to get keyed up for a future VOLTA call? Okay, I think what I'll do then is I'll give you some time back today. So I know we're trying to wrap up the sprint, so we've got a tentative plan for next week then, with some discussion from David on Tuesday's call, and then tentatively the demo for the redfish importer, hopefully next Thursday. And then we should have some time for additional topics as needed as well. So if you have something that comes up, please let me know so I can get it penciled in for one of our meetings. Okay. Sean, Bjorn, anything else you'd like to bring up today?
No, it's a good meeting.
Okay.
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. Good.
Oh, by the way, so I did send out the survey regarding to meeting at the ONF Connect.
I was just going to mention the same thing. So we can find a time that works for most folks based on the feedback that's provided via that form. So Sean, thank you for sending that out.
Julie,
okay.
Could you put the form and link in the message you sent out?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you. Good idea, Zach. Okay, I'll get that done. And when I send out the minutes, it'll have that link in it. Okay, last call for topics for discussion.
Oh, by the way, Zach,
yeah.
You may have made cookies.
Oh, great. I'm on the hook for cookies now.
Julie, please start
recording.
And we had Zach's cookie last year. It was great.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap up today's call? Okay.
Thanks.
So we'll let everyone go, and then on Tuesday we'll have some more detailed discussion about the Sprint 6, but at least we do have a plan for some of the feature development work to start off in Sprint 6. So thanks everyone. I'll stop the recording and we'll close today's meeting.